So, welcome back to another episode of the Half and Half Scarf Football Podcast with me, Nick, and my mate Dom. This week, we're on episode 33, and following on from episode 32 last week, we're doing another observations on the season so far. The reason we're doing this is, first of all, we've got a lot of observations. There's been a lot going on in recent weeks, but also these appear to be our most popular type of episode with our listeners and viewers, and very much our podcast DNA discussion, interaction with the audience, and asking for your input. So it makes absolute sense to do another one. And I do believe if we don't get through everything this week, we're probably going to do episode 34 with observations, because that's what people seem to want. We like doing them, and I've got a list of mile long to discuss with my mate Dom. So without further ado, let's introduce you to Dom, and let's have a look at the shirts we're wearing. Can I start with mine first, Dom?
Yes.
So I'm wearing, for those on YouTube who watch it, I'm wearing the current home shirt for Middlesbrough. And I'm wearing it in honour of our current form. We are absolutely flying. We're flying at the Riverside, and we're flying away from home, to be fair. And I could have worn the away shirt. I could have worn a half and half home and away shirt, couldn't I? Which would have been heinous. But we've won our last 3 home games in January. So we've scored 9 goals, conceded none, 9 points, blown 2 teams away, and had a really hard-fought game against Norwich yesterday, as we record this on Sunday morning, the 1st of February. And I'm wearing it in honour of that, because it's been sensational to watch. And you've got a lovely, lovely Borough shirt on as well. That's with the Ramsden sponsor that went red from its previous green, which was hideous before, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is the random makeshift third kit from the 14-15 season, which was just a beautiful all-white kit with red. Really plain, really subtle, but just one of my favourite kits. And again, one of those that if something happened to it, I'd be pretty devastated, to be honest. So,
I've got a few that I don't care if they get burned, but that's not one of them. I've got that kit as well.
This is a precious one. Yeah, I love this kit.
Good stuff. Well, hopefully this kit will go down in folklore for where we end up, but it's a bit early to talk about that because I'm not a Coventry fan. Coventry fans have been singing about winning the league since November, and suddenly they've got a goal difference lead over us, and Hull are on our tails as well. So I'm not going to get into that yet, but I am going to start with an apology, actually. I'm going to apologise to Crescencio Somerville, because a couple of weeks ago when Dom and I were discussing players and West Ham and the relegation battle, Dom said Crescencio Somerville's some player, and I said he's not that great. And since then, he's gone on to score in 4 games in a row, including a few absolute belters and crackers. So Crescencio, I apologise. Dom, you clearly a better. I might have been tainted by his Leeds connections. I don't know, but he's in great form, sparkling form. And yesterday, they were very unlucky, I guess, to be 2-0 up against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge and then succumb to just the pressure and power of Chelsea, overpowering them in the second half. And I felt a bit sorry for him, really, because, that would have given the relegation battle a little bit more of a feel, wouldn't it, by a win there?
I felt sorry for them. It's so hard when you're in the ground and you're 2-0 up and you're playing good football, and then something just slightly changes it. The opposition get a goal, they can sense it, they get to 2 quite quickly. And as fans in the ground, sometimes you can almost sense it's going to happen. I've been in that situation a good few times and watched it happen. And it's the worst way to win a game of football. Because when you're 2-0 up, the game's never done. But it doesn't happen that often that a team will come back into it and win 3-2.
It's the worst way to lose, not the worst way to win, you said. Sorry.
And you can... There's definitely an element of sometimes your head goes a bit. I've seen it so many times where you're just almost in a spin where you just can't control it and get yourself out of it, and it's awful. I felt for them yesterday because I was looking at that thinking, that'll be a great win for West Ham, and then all of a sudden the wheels fall off. But
Interestingly, Borough were 2-0 up at West Brom a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night, and then West Brom got back to 2-2 at West Brom, and all fear was, you know what, they're going to go on and win this. And then we managed to get a last-minute winner, which is very rare that you do the 2-0 up, 2-2 all, and then you get the winner from being 2-0 up previously. and that's a great celebration, but it wouldn't have been out of the realms of possibility to see the swing, would it? And I felt a bit sorry for him yesterday. But anyway, Crescencio Somerville, apologies. You're in great form. You're a better player than I gave you credit for. You were a sensation in the Championship, by the way, for Leeds. But I think it's fair to say I'll agree to disagree that he's taken a little while to get going. That's all I'll say. Can we agree
Yeah,
on
he
that,
has.
Tom?
Yeah, I would agree with that. He tore us apart at Everton when we drew the game 1-1. He was brilliant the whole game, and he
Yeah.
ran Jake O'Brien ragged, and he didn't know what to do with him. So yeah, I always liked him at Leeds. Not really seen. I think your summation's accurate. Not really seen as much of him, and maybe he is just starting to feel his way. Bizarrely, in the team that's really struggling, so
Mm.
he's kind of almost like he's stepping up a bit and doing his bit, which is good to see. I
They'd be
feel
dead
I
with.
feel for West Ham and their fans because it feels like a hard season. It just feels like they can't get out of this rut that they're in, and no matter what they do, nothing's going right. It's almost like it's predetermined they're not going to get out of it. But I wish them well because they're going through the mire on all sorts of fronts, aren't they? Struggling
Mm.
with the team. They hate the stadium, they hate their owners, hate how they run, and
Yeah.
it's. I feel for them. I really do.
I do. The only thing I'd say there is they'd be dead and buried without Bowen and Crescencio. Some of them
Yes,
wouldn't
they would.
because,
Yes, they
wow,
would.
they would be absolutely dead and buried. Right,
Yeah.
moving on from West Ham, let's talk Champions League. 'Cause it's been Champions League final round of eight, as they call it, this week. I've got to start with Benfica goalkeeper Anatoly Trubin. Obviously, he's been everywhere. You'll have seen it on social media.
Yeah.
He's never going to buy a drink ever again when he's surrounded by Benfica fans. But we always say football's about moments, don't we? And what a moment that was. I mean, first of all, I love it when a keeper goes up. I mean, keepers don't score very often. I've got Alisson scored a header for Liverpool. I remember Peter Schmeichel absolutely twatting one in from the edge of the 6 yard box on a volley that bounced out to him. And I can't remember who he was playing against. And you don't get keepers scoring very often when they go up, but when they do, it's a thing of beauty. And the fact that that goal difference swing put them through to qualification. And Mourinho, I mean, love him or hate him, he's a character, isn't he? You just look at it and go, I love that. I watched that the other night and I'm thinking to myself, oh, absolutely get in, get in.
Yeah,
Anatoly Trubin, hats off, mate.
and it was also the fact that they'd already played really well to be 3-2 up, but they needed
Mm,
that extra goal to qualify, and to do it in that fashion. I mean, the fans must have been just delirious. And yeah,
yeah,
he's a divisive character, Mourinho, but my God, he knows how to create a moment, doesn't he?
he
So,
does,
and
he
against
does.
Madrid as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
fantastic. On the subject of the Champions League, um, six English clubs have all qualified by rights, five in the top eight. Now, what does that say about the Champions League and the Premier League? And who do you think might win it? First of all, I'm going to say right now, it won't be Spurs. And I'll say that for Spurs fans listening. I'll be honest with you, Burnley could have beaten some of the teams you got drawn against to qualify in the top eight. So I'm not knocking it. Well, I am. Spurs won't be winning it, but five English clubs in the top eight, and also Real Madrid, Inter, PSG, Super League, haha, they didn't qualify by rights automatically and they're in the playoffs. What does it say about the quality of the Champions League versus the Premier League, do you think? And who do you think might win the Champions League? What's your thoughts at this early stage?
um, yeah. I think what I'm going to say now is a bit contradictory in terms of how I feel about Premier League football right now because I've kind of fallen out of love with it for many many reasons, and I think a lot of people agree with it. The Premier League is just yeah, I think it's dying personally. But what I would say about it is compared to the other leagues around the world, it is more competitive. You have
Mm,
got a lot more stronger teams, and on any given day, most teams can beat any other team. I'm not saying that doesn't happen in the likes of La Liga and Liga and all that kind of stuff, but let's be honest, in those leagues, you absolutely have one or two strong teams. In Spain, you've got three, but really, apart from that, is there any real competition? No. So I do think the
no.
Premier League offers more quality and competition in terms of there's a little bit more balance, more which we've referenced before, more than there has been for a long time. Um, I also think this new league system has perhaps favoured it a bit more as well. And And I think what I would say is, and people, please feel free to disagree. I think in some of these other leagues, because the teams have it quite easy, whereas in the Premier League they don't every week. I think that format has suited the Premier League teams because they turn up and compete every week. Whereas,
Yeah.
not really sure some of the likes of PSG and Real, they like to have it all their own way, and they generally do get it their own way. They haven't in this. I mean, Madrid were really struggling early on in the early matches. Um, so yeah, I think it probably favours the Premier League in terms of the standards that are there in terms of the quality. And as a league, I think it stacks up in terms of how everyone's evenly balanced.
But then it gets to the knockout stage where the league is irrelevant anymore, and then it becomes, I think, it tips back in favour of others
I
potentially.
would
My
agree.
my
Yes.
view. I do. You know what? My dark horse to win it, and it's only because they've been there and done it. I think I wouldn't want to play Liverpool on their day. Now, they're hit and miss, and they're a bit kind of they're struggling in the Premier League, but. If you're playing Liverpool over two legs or in a one-off final, and they turn up on the day with Ekitike and Verts and all that kind of thing, I think they can beat anyone. I'm not saying they
Oh,
will, but I think they can.
yeah, they
Um,
can.
Arsenal, obviously, if they get plenty of corners, they'll be all right. Um, but I do think you look at it in terms of knockout, and I think somebody like a Bayern Munich is still to be favoured and considered. But the league
Yeah.
system is all about qualification. Then it just becomes straight knockout,
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
it?
it's back to the purity of what the Champions League once was. And for me, I know loads of people will disagree because it's more of a spectacle. But if you're a purist, the Champions League was all about the winners of the
Yeah,
winners
yeah.
of your league, and you could literally, and it happened. A lot of these teams they'd be knocked out first round.
Mm,
The only thing about that is there were far fewer teams, and it was a lot less, rounds to be in. But it
mm.
goes back to the purest of what it is. It's literally straight knockout, and that's where I sometimes think Arsenal struggle. Um, I don't know, give them a knockout game over two legs, and they don't seem to be as good. I mean, they were
Yeah.
great against Real Madrid last season, but then against PSG, they just didn't turn up really. Even though
What was it?
Arteta says they were the better team, it's like, well, you weren't because you lost, and you
Yeah.
lost fair and square. It wasn't like you lost to a dodgy goal or something that was contestable. You lost.
It was all those years like Man City before they won it, finally. Man City over two legs would have a daft 15 minutes against someone. So they had a daft
Every
15 minutes
year.
against
Yeah,
Spurs. They had a daft
yeah,
15 minutes against Liverpool. They'd have a daft 15 minutes against Monaco, I think.
yeah.
And over two legs, a daft 15 minutes puts you out in a knockout competition, doesn't it? So I do think it's up for grabs. We're not elitist enough to talk about the Champions League for too long, but I just thought it was interesting that, we got five out of the top eight. And even Newcastle, were unlucky. Potentially, they get a late goal. It comes 6 out of 8, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not sure that we're going to dominate the knockout stage. And last season we didn't dominate the knockout stages at all,
No,
did we?
and on the subject of Liverpool, yeah, I totally agree. If they absolutely turn up, they can beat anyone on their day, and over two
Mm,
legs, and no one wants to play at Anfield, in a second leg.
no.
So they absolutely have got that in their favour. Man City and the way Man City are playing, they're so inconsistent. But
Yeah,
even a bit like Liverpool have been inconsistent. That's the thing. If the proper Liverpool turn up, absolutely fine. They'll give anyone a game. If they don't,
yeah.
they can get easily turned over. Man City, you never know what you can get in one week to the next at the moment. So I'm really not sure about them. And Arsenal, I think they've got quite a lot to prove on the knockout phase, to be honest,
Mm,
because
yeah.
they've dominated the group phase, haven't they? They've finished number one. So,
Mm,
but yeah, I'm still not convinced with them, really, to be
no.
honest. I'm not quite sure what it is, but yeah, they just leave me a bit flat to watch. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's all
Not
it's all it's
criticizing them,
all
by the way, because they're still managing to win games. But yeah, I think there's a test there. Spurs, not having a dig at your Spurs fans, but you're not going to get through and win.
no.
Equally, if Newcastle get through, I can't see them. But I'd like to see the journey, see if they can get through as far as they can. But yeah, I think unfortunately you're going to have the usual suspects there, aren't you? At the
Mm.
end. So
What I would say, we've ignored Chelsea, and let's just keep doing that.
yeah,
And I'd say to any Newcastle fans, if you are going to Karabag away, I've been to Baku recently. If you want any insights into what to do and see in Baku and which places to go, I'm quite happy for you to send me a note and say, I'm going to Azerbaijan because we're going on a European tour. I'm going to Baku. What should I do? I'll give you insights. It's a fabulous, fabulous city. So I'll just
um,
offer that out there to any Newcastle fans.
My only observation on Chelsea would be just how annoying Mark Cucurella is. He
Oh yeah,
literally is. He literally is a player that you just. I mean, I don't advocate violence, but my God, every time you see him prancing around the pitch causing trouble and in players' ears, you just want to spark him out, don't you?
yeah,
He's
you
so
do.
irritating. He's always there, annoying and whining and in players'
Mm.
ears and the referee. He's just so irritating. He really is. I can see why opposition fans and players can't stand him, to be honest.
He's like a yappy Yorkshire Terrier that you want to just kick, isn't he? But
Oh,
anyway,
he
let's
is.
move on from
Yeah.
that. I don't advocate violence to dogs either. I've just not an issue about with Yorkshire
No.
Terriers, really. Right, I've got a couple of things. It's not a Borough podcast, but I want to read out some stats. I want to see if anyone else can say that their club's been in this position before and what was the outcome. Because these stats are sensational, right? This season so far, Middlesbrough have taken the lead 16 times in games, and we've won every one of those 16 games. Now, that means first goal, we're probably pretty confident that we're going to go on and win, because the second stat is that from winning positions in any game, we have dropped 0 points. Now, that's to say we're 1-0 up, 2-1 up, whatever. Once we've gone in the lead, we've won the game and we've dropped no points whatsoever across the entire games that we've played. We lost more than 25 points under Michael Carrick last season from winning positions. We've lost none so far. Now, that's the best across all top divisions in England as it stands. Nobody's anywhere near that. I'm not bragging. Well, I am. I'm loving it. But what I'm trying to say is, have any of the listeners or viewers, teams, been in that position before, and what's the outcome? Because the outcome for me feels like we're absolutely going to be in the mix at the end. If you can go 1-0 up and you're not going to drop points, if you can win from every winning position you're in, that's got to be like absolutely
Yeah.
the DNA
Well,
of a
it
winning
is.
season.
It's winning it in lots of different ways as well, and that is a massive. I mean, we've said it time and time again over recent seasons. If Middlesbrough could just improve, not giving away winning positions in games, we'd have been up there challenging for top two and comfortably in the playoffs every single year. And
Yeah.
that was our big drop off and our big weakness every year, and that is just an astonishing stat. Equally, you know, the flip side of that is Everton. If they concede first, it's a bad stat in that we never go on and win a game. So
Right.
it's the opposite. So these stats, I'm not all about stats, but some are quite telling in that they do clearly give you a trend of what some of your weaknesses are. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice on the Borough front that that's stat is the way it is, but on an Everton front, it's a bit depressing sometimes when if you concede, it's like, oh, here we
Uh,
go. But the best we've come back to in those is drawing the game, but we never go on to win it when we've conceded first. So
you got a lovely late equaliser last night though, watching it.
oh, sweet that was. Yeah, it was unexpected, but I think overall it was deserved. I think the game was fairly even. So yeah, I think that's a really good. We've been far better on the road this season, much better.
Yeah.
I think we're second in the league for away performances and
Wow.
away points accrued. At home, it's not the same. We were against Leeds on Monday, and we were woeful first half. Changed it up, Branthwaite and Dewsbury Hall back from injury, and I mean, Leeds battered us first half, scabby goal, but they deserved it. And then second half, we absolutely battered them and should have won.
Mm.
So a draw was probably fair, but yeah, it was good game.
I saw that the destroyer Dewsbury Hall was back, and for anyone who doesn't know the reference to that, listen to the previous back catalogue. And we discussed Dewsbury Hall being the first player in the Premier League this season to get a suspension for 5 yellow cards, which surprised and shocked me, but not so much for Dom. Anyway,
Well,
let's move
just
on.
just quickly on that one as well, though,
Yeah.
mate. Seeing Branthwaite back was unbelievable. What a player! I mean, as soon as he came on second half, he instantly made Tarkowski look comfortable because Tarkowski's been wobbling all season. He's looked under
Mm.
pressure. He's been clumsy. He's given goals away. Branthwaite came on and he was just his usual Rolls Royce self. He drives forward. He's always looking to go on the front foot. You can see him dictating and shouting and where he wants players to be. He's always wanting to be, moving forward quickly, but he instantly makes Tarky look much more comfortable. Just goes to show when you've got your best players back, you can really
Mm.
transform your season. So, and another interesting start: David Moyes getting booked for running out of his technical area on the 97th minute yesterday
Oh,
for celebrating a
Arteta?
goal.
Arteta
No,
not got
no,
one?
no. It was David Moyes yesterday for our
No, no,
man.
but Arteta's never in his box, is he?
No, and he never gets a booking. And have you seen him on the touchline when players go past with the ball and he comes out with technical area and he's pretty much touching the player? Does he ever get pulled up for it? No. David
No.
Moyes walks out with technical area to celebrate a goal and gets booked.
Yeah,
It's like
shocking.
you can't celebrate scoring a goal in football. I mean, come on, your technical area is there for a reason, but when you score a goal,
Yeah.
you're telling me he's not allowed to kind of briefly go out your technical area. It's just the misery police, isn't it? It's just everything
Yeah.
that's wrong, isn't it? So there you go, a couple of little minor
Li-
points, mate.
little pickups, right? I'm gonna talk to you about. We call this the Half and Half Scarf Football Podcast, and for those who don't know the irony of it, we hate everything to do with half and half, anything, scarves, shirts, everything, whatever. But I'm indebted to Julie Waits, who's obviously a good mate of yours and mine. He goes to home and
Yeah.
away games with us, and me and Rob and whatever. And Julie's sent me a picture of a guy called John Sims. Now, he's not the guy who was in Doctor Who and a famous actor who was in Grace, I think, which is a TV cop based in Brighton. A guy called John Sims, big fat guy from Birmingham. He supports Birmingham. He supports Santos, and fair play to him. He goes to Brazil occasionally to go and watch Santos, and he's obviously an England fan. He hasn't got a half and half tattoo. He's got a third and third and third tattoo across his chest. Birmingham, Santos, and England. John Sims, what the fuck are you doing? You are an embarrassment. Julie, thanks for the picture. I nearly spat my tea out.
Yeah, I don't mind supporting more than one team. I do support more than one team. You can see it behind us. We've got loads of teams in our family, but I wouldn't get them tattooed on my chest, that's for sure. No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He doesn't look great with his top off anyway. But bloody hell, He's lucky that Santos playing blue because we've got blue and white, and then England somewhere in there as well. Just
Santos
shocking,
don't
really.
play in blue. Santos
Well,
play in white or black and white, so they don't play in blue at all.
it
That's
might
the
be a bad
thing.
photograph. Might be a bad
Yeah.
photograph that I don't know. But anyway, either or, shocking on the part of John Sims, Birmingham and Santos fan. I think it's Santos anyway, but certainly Birmingham and Brazilian team. Now, indebted to Julius here. I'm also indebted to Stuart Raby, who's also a listener. He's a friend of mine, a client of mine, and he sent me something I just need to read out, and it's a disgrace on the FA for stopping Crystal Palace giving their gate receipts to Macclesfield from the recent FA Cup. And I know that this is true because it's an article in the Times by Sam Cunningham, and Sam Cunningham's a respected journalist, so he wouldn't have put this in without evidence. So the FA have written to Crystal Palace and Macclesfield to stop the Premier League side from handing their share of FA Cup gate receipts to the non-league club. Before the third round, FA Cup holders Crystal Palace made the brilliant gesture of letting National League North side Macclesfield keep their share of gate receipts, which is normally 50-50 split between the two clubs. But the FA cited Rule 233, of course, as a bloody rule. A club must not enter or attempt to enter into any agreement with another club under which their obligations under these competition rules regarding the share of net gate receipts may be varied or amended. Macclesfield owner Robert Smethurst said after the match that Palace's gesture was huge and it could help set the club up for years. The FA have not only scrapped the FA Cup replays, which have also reduced potential earnings for clubs further down the pyramid, but now this. An FA source said the equal gate receipts rule is in place to protect the integrity of the competition. The magic of the FA Cup, eh? What a set of rule bloody quoting bastards that is. That's an absolute shocker, isn't it?
The integrity of the FA Cup. Well, the integrity of the FA Cup's been slowly eroded for years and years and years by the FA themselves, and
Yeah,
the fact
exactly.
that and the fact that they're allowed to be kowtowed and bullied by the Premier League and TV and everything else. I I think where they're coming off that is that they want it to be balanced for every team. So it's almost like, well, if Crystal Palace are generous in that gesture and it benefits Macclesfield, other clubs might not be so generous when they're playing non-league teams and all the rest of it. So it should be. They could say that I suppose they could say Macclesfield might get an unfair advantage by being given that money by Crystal Palace. I would counter that by saying if a club wants to do that, I don't think it does favour another club. I think it just like the article said, and the owner of Macclesfield said it secures their future for a good few years ahead. It's
Mm.
money in the bank for them. non-league teams struggle in terms of revenue and bums on seats, getting the fans in the door. So if a Premier League club wants to be generous to do that, surely you celebrate the fact that it's strengthening a non-league team down the pyramid. So surely it should just come down to what they want to do between themselves. I don't really
Mhm.
see how the FA should intervene, to be honest.
No, I don't. I don't. Um, we've done episodes before on the managerial merry-go-round. This is
Mm.
not related to it, but it's sort of, I guess, in tangent to it. I've got the first thing about managers. Appointing a permanent manager or coach after an interim period in charge, it rarely works. So you look at Alan Sheehan at Swansea. Alan Sheehan took the interim job when whoever it was left previously. And after 4 or 5 games, he did okay. So they gave the job to Alan Sheehan at Swansea, and he lasted about 3 or 4 months. Now, Tonda Eckhart at Southampton. I've written here disaster, but I wrote this a week ago. Now, as we speak, Southampton won away yesterday at Stoke, but Stoke are in free fall. They're going to finish 15th like they always do anyway. But so they had a win yesterday. But Tonda Eckhart won 4 games in a row as Southampton interim manager, and they just gave him the job. And since then, let's face it, they've plummeted down the league table. So giving a manager or coach the job after an interim period with some run of success is bonkers, which brings me on to the main point. Michael Carrick, 2 wins out of 2 at Man United, and people are now talking about, well, he'll get the job in the summer, won't he?
Yeah,
I don't even know where to go with this, right? I
I
think
don't
it's like,
I
what
don't
the hell?
I don't because yeah, I, I don't think he's reinvented the wheel. He's just playing more to the Man United way, and he's actually bringing players in who Amram had at his disposal that he could have used and didn't. He's changing his formation. He's using players in the right positions, and he's getting the best out of those players. They were brilliant against Man City. Um, Whether it'll continue, I don't know. Do you know what? It might. But that's the thing is, we always say, don't we? Footballs can be a really simple game sometimes, and Man United have got bigger issues behind the scenes. And I'm not saying it's going to last this because it probably won't. And but you've still got the likes of Roy Keane and all those saying, "Oh well, we need bigger than that." It's like, well, I don't really buy that. It's like, well, why? Why do you need bigger? You don't really need to have a big manager all the time. Surely it's about having a manager that understands what the club wants and needs, and he's supported in the right way, and everything behind the scenes is right. I'm more concerned with what's going on behind the scenes at Man United because I think it's an absolute shit show.
Yeah,
So, I think Carrick's because he's a calm head, he steadies the ship. There's also that lovely bit of buoyancy where there's no pressure because he's
yeah.
not getting pelters. They won't give him pelters because he's absolutely idolised there. He started off really well, which gives him time, and it's that classic thing of it's interim, so almost the fans understand that it might not be permanent. And as soon as you make it permanent, that's when the pressure's on straight away, and immediately
The,
they start getting pelters, and immediately it's like, well, you're the manager now, so therefore, we can start giving you pelters, and that's when it suddenly starts to go horribly wrong.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had a great interim period as Man United manager. Then they gave him the job full time, and he didn't last long at all, did he? Ollie's at the wheel, Ollie's at the wheel. But I just think that calm down. The reason he's successful so far, don't get me wrong, I watched the game against Arsenal last week. It was a hell of a game of football to the
Yeah,
to
it
the
was.
neutral. And Rob had watched, my lad had watched the Manchester derby. He said Man United could have won it 5 or 6-0.
Oh,
He
they
said they were
covered
really good.
easily. Yeah,
But the reason for me that Michael Carrick is currently successful in the role is because he's not the previous guy. Simple as that. Because they'd all fallen out of love with his tactical rigidity and the fact that he had favourites and all that kind of thing. He's playing players out of position. All Carrick's gone in and done, he's gone, well, I'm not him. Let's give you a bit of
yeah.
freedom to play. There weren't shit players anyway. They were, pretty decent players. You play for Man United, you're going to be reasonably decent on some level.
Got
And
some very good players.
he's
Yeah.
just let him play. But all this talk now, I've seen a couple of panel things on Sky and football podcasts and all that saying, well, and he's a phrase right after 2 games. They've got to give him the job, haven't they? Really? What? I
Oh,
mean, how lazy is that, by the way? They've got to give him the job. What could he? Well, he's beaten Man City, he's beaten Arsenal. Right, okay. Well, let's see if he gets. Let's see if he can win at Burnley on a Tuesday night. Let's see if he can go and beat West Ham in a, when they're fighting for their lives or whatever it might be. Let's see how he gets on between now and the end of the season. Man United should be in the top four because they've got no European distractions. They're playing less games this season than anybody else around them. So they've got more time in the training ground. So the fact that the previous guy was a dickhead isn't a problem. Michael Carrick's following a dickhead. He can't fail, can he? But that doesn't mean he gets the job permanently after 2 games. Just absolutely bonkers. Calm down, Man United fans.
I think I think Amarim was a good manager, but he didn't play the Man United way. And I know there is a set kind of Man United way, but I'm also an advocate. If a manager's a good manager, you should allow him to do what he wants to do. Because if you've got good players should be able to play any system. And you should. I think he was the maker of his own downfall. Because I think he got himself into such a tears he didn't know what to do from one week to the next, and didn't really, apply his own philosophy and sticking it out into, and he was very, very stubborn and didn't really play good players when he had good players at his disposal. So he kind of shot himself in the foot and went away from what made him good. But equally, I think it's a shame because when you put any manager in that spotlight and give him the pressure, which a lot of it is totally unnecessary and undue, but it's Man United.
Yeah,
You suddenly have managers who are good managers who are suddenly, under the spotlight every single week. I think where Carrick's different is he's used to that as being a Man United player, and he knows what's required because he's been there under one of the best managers the game's ever seen, and
yeah.
he's a calm head. And you'd like to think if he's learned from what he did wrong at Borough, he could do really well there because he is a talented guy and he's got much better players at his disposal. And if he's less rigid, less stubborn, he actually could be successful. But
Mm.
you know, I mentioned it a few weeks ago on the pod about because managers are getting sacked so frequently now. It's like, where's the pool of who are you replacing them with? Because a lot of these managers, they're not bad managers.
Yeah.
They're in bad situations and they're not helped, and it's just easy to blame them rather than actually recognizing that they're probably good coaches, but there's too much pressure on them to succeed instantly. So the likes of Roy Keane and everyone saying, "Oh, we need someone bigger." Like who? So people are touting Glasner. He won't do well at Man United. People are
No,
touting Tuchel. No, because I think he's a
no.
divisive, destructive character, a bit like Mourinho. So
We've
that's not going
covered
to
we've
help.
we've covered this in detail before. My point on this, Dom, was why after 2 games are people
No, no,
throwing
yeah,
the whole thing
I know,
out by
yeah,
saying just give them the job now? I mean,
oh,
I don't
yeah,
care
it's
who I don't
crazy.
care who they get. I don't care who they get. What I'm saying is, if that is Carrick at the end of the season, because he's won every game between now and the end of the season and whatever, and he deserves it, that's fine. But after 2 games, because he's beaten 2 teams,
No,
just
I
to
know.
say you're an interim manager. Look at the history of interim managers and what happens when you appoint them
Yeah,
permanently.
exactly.
It rarely, if ever, works. Right. Let's talk about manage. Actually, just something you said there. You said if you learned from being at the borough, right? Now, I'm going to just use a phrase for Grant Lorimer, who's an avid listener, works at the swimming pool I go to on a regular basis. Grant has an issue with how I pronounce the football team that I support. Okay. Now, you call it Borough, and I call it
Yeah,
Borough.
yeah.
And I call it Borough because I'm posher than you. And I call it,
My dad called them the Borough.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Borough. So,
the Borough.
Grant, just for you, I'm going to call it Borough. Which sounds wrong. It's the Borough. And you know what? Button it up, mate. Anyway, I just thought I'd pronounce it Borough for you just the once, Grant. Anyway, moving on. Another thing about managers, this is, I'm nervous of the 3 letters I'm going to use in your presence again, MLS. Eric Ramsey at West Brom. Now, played 3, lost 2, drew 1. This was up to last week. Played 4, lost 3, drawn 1. They've had 2 of those games at home. They're now 2 points above the bottom 3. They're free falling to relegation. It's going to end in tears like Wilfred Nancy, ex-MLS at Celtic, and they've got Eric Ramsey from the MLS. You know why I know they got Eric Ramsey from the MLS? Because when we played them a few weeks ago at the Hawthorns, all they could talk about was he came from the MLS. Okay, big deal. He's young. He's come from the MLS. He's doing an absolutely shit job at West Brom, and he probably thinks that relegation doesn't exist in the Championship because he's from the MLS. Tell you what, though, Mr. Ramsey, it does exist, and you're sleepwalking your team towards relegation. be careful what you wish for, Chairman. Appointing managers for the MLS seems crazy to me because the only
Well,
two that have been appointed recently so far have been an absolute unmitigated disaster.
they've all been a disaster. Even the guy who Leeds appointed was it? Was he in the MLS or did he come
Oh
from
yeah,
worked in the MLS? I can't fully remember. Is the American guy? Can't remember his
yeah,
name now. Um, yeah, and the thing is, West Brom fans are turning on their team as well. It was quite nasty yesterday. So they were appalling yesterday, weren't they? They got absolutely.
yeah.
Or was it on Friday night? Or I can't
No,
remember.
Portsmouth
Was it
battered them, didn't they?
yesterday? Got
Yeah,
battered yesterday. Um, the fans are turning on the team as well. And, some of the players were giving it a bit of attitude towards the fans. And it's like, you can't really do that because
no,
you were absolutely abjectly shit. So you can't then turn the fans having a go at you because fans pay the money, whether you like it or not. As long as it doesn't get personal and abusive, they have every right to, vent their annoyance at you, shall we say. But
yeah,
it's also the club's fault for appointing someone that you know, probably won't last, and they won't give him the time to last. So he's been working in a different system. The MLS is a cocoon, sheltered, safe environment. There's no pressure, there's no jeopardy, there's nothing to worry about. And you're thrusting it into a team that expects results. West Brom are one of the biggest teams in the Championship. They
yeah.
don't, the fact that they're even dicing with relegation is really not good for them at all.
No,
I mean, the
to
players
be
have got to step up and take some responsibility as well. But yeah, the sad thing is, if he carries on going, he probably even won't last the end of the season. Or if he does
no,
last the end of the season, he'll be gone at the end of the season. So again, it comes down to what's the point? What's the point? Just you know, you're almost better off if you really don't like the manager you've got and you're going to get rid of them. Stick with someone within the club. Going back to the interim thing, but take your time, appoint someone worthwhile that you think you're going to
yeah,
have faith in. But this is what's gone wrong with football, mate. All the diligence in the world that these clubs claim they do, and then they'll still panic and sack their managers. So there's no, and this is the other thing of why we're now taking resource from the MLS because there's a dying pool of managers, or actually there probably isn't a dying pool of managers or coaches. It's just that the some good coaches have been burned that often that clubs don't want to take a punt on them,
yeah.
and or and how do you keep regurgitating the same names? So it's like we've said before. I think sometimes clubs have to have some faith and belief, and that it won't always be a good season. But if everything's right behind the scenes, you should be able to turn it around and pull it around and give the managers time to do that.
As it stands at the moment, I think West Brom will be the biggest club in League One next season. I can't see where a game or a goal's coming from. I just
Yeah,
can't
they're
see them
really
winning
stuck and they're
anymore. They're
conceding heavily,
really,
aren't
really,
they?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, when we played them, we beat them 3-2. It sounds as though it was a hell of a game. They had 10 minutes, scored two goals in 10 minutes. We dominated the game from start to finish, apart from 10 minutes where they got back to 2-all. They were piss poor against us, and they've been piss poor every game
yeah.
under this guy.
But in that game, I remember saying to you that I think it was partly Hellberg's fault. Some people might not agree, but
Oh yeah,
I can't remember which player we took off, but we took a midfield player off because I think he thought we were nice and comfortable and
mm,
pretty much home and hosed. Changed the personnel, and all of a sudden we looked a bit leggy and gappy through the middle. West
yeah,
Brom just sensed that, came through, got the free kick and scored it, and then really sensed that they could get back in it. But they just played through us for that 10, 15 minutes until he brought Dale Fry on and solidified it back up again.
yeah,
And luckily, it went in our favour and we got the one at the end. But that could have gone horribly wrong. And
mm,
I think that wasn't so much to do with West Brom being great. I think it was the fact that we gave them an in back into the game by
yeah.
giving them some space through the middle, which they capitalised on for that 10 minutes.
No, I
So
agree with you.
in answer to your point, yeah, they weren't good at all most of that game, and they've continued on the same vein.
Yeah. I've got two things to finish with. Then we're going to do some more next time on the next episode. I've got one. I want to really, really, really praise a Premier League referee. Now, I don't know if you know where I'm going with this because
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
do.
sent you the notes. Farai Halam, his first ever Premier League game, refereeing Man City versus Wolves last weekend. And first of all, that must be quite nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
Secondly, that's a fairly easy game you would imagine on potential spanking. It was a shame that Rob Edwards lost again, to be fair. But anyway, moving on. But he was asked to go to the VAR to overturn his own on-field denial of a penalty to City. Now, 99 times out of 100, they go to the VAR. Everyone in the crowd knows that it's going to be turned over. He didn't give a penalty to City, and he said he was told to go by the VAR to go and have a look. So he's walking up to the VAR. The crowd are on the feet going, penalty's going to happen, penalty's going to happen. And he stuck to his on-field decision in his first ever game as a Premier League referee. You know what? That is brilliant. However, I do feel he'll never referee again in the Premier League because you don't overturn the VAR. And I'll tell you what, Pep was furious and disgraceful in his comments afterwards. He actually apologised the day later in his press conference about you're questioning this guy's integrity and judgment. What, because he didn't give you a penalty? You won 2-0 against Wolves anyway, Pep. The guy stuck to his guns, and he's only the second time this season, as far as I can see, that a referee's gone to the VAR screen and said, no, I'm sticking to what I've done on screen. I'd love Farai Halam to get more and more games and do more and more of that going forward. I suspect he'd be under pressure from, the more senior referees to not talk back and not and do as he's told. But I was jumping for joy when I saw
Yeah,
that.
I was really pleased. I was also a bit disappointed. He's whining more and more. Pep. It's just getting annoying to listen to.
Oh,
He
he's
just
pissing me off, pissing me off
whines.
immensely. I
It's
can't
like,
watch
Pep,
the
do you know
guy.
what, mate? Shut the fuck up. Oh, we've won all these titles and leagues because of, even though, despite, being treated unfairly, my ass. What a load of bollocks. You've had so many more decisions go your way. I mean, come on. Let's address the elephant in the room again, Pep, shall we? 116 charges. Where the hell are they going? Give
Yeah,
me a fucking break. You just whine and moan all the fucking time. Just shut your
yeah,
mouth and get on with it. Like you said,
yeah,
he won the game, so what's the big deal? Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like, just get over yourself. You get so many more decisions go your way than any other team. So stop moaning about it. And
He
plus,
couldn't
while you're
resist.
there, please retire because it's boring to watch and you've literally killed football in this country. Just go
Yeah,
off and retire or have a sabbatical and then go and do your boring football somewhere else. Nobody's listening to you because you just whine and moan. I'm
yeah.
sick of it. I'm so sick of listening to him.
He's become the most annoying manager in the Premier League for me. I've got no skin in the Premier League game. Hopefully, we'll have next season. Let's see. But I can't stand listening to him because he's never complimentary. The bit that gets me as well, he walks on the pitch and he's in the faces of the opposition and he's putting his arm
Boring.
round them. He's putting his arm round them and giving them a little bit of a pep talk, pardon the pun, but chats in the ears of the opposition
I
players.
know.
If I was the opposition manager, I don't know if you remember when Cardiff played Wolves, when Nuno was in one dugout and Warnock was in the other, and they were nearly fighting on the pitch because they were interacting with the opposition's players and all that kind of thing. You shouldn't be talking to the opposition players after the game on the pitch, Pep, and you shouldn't be moaning about a referee who's got balls enough to say, you know what, I'm a qualified referee. I got it right, and I'm not going to be swayed by that little box on the side of the pitch. So, Pep, I agree with you, Dom. Shut up. You are a
Just
more
shut the fuck
boring,
up, man. Yeah.
boring, whinging man. And Farah Alam, well done to you. I'm going to finish with one thing. Fraser gets my goat every time. Oh, they're in a low block. Fuck off. They're just defending, right? A low block. They've just invented that phrase, haven't they? It basically means we're just defending, aren't we? And people say, I'll talk about passing out from the back separately on a separate issue, but you pass it out from the back, you've got to beat the low block. How do we, people come to us and they sit behind two banks of four and all that kind of thing. Football's always been like that. Teams defend and teams attack. I want to take my hats off to the team who can beat the low block the best. Aston Villa have scored 13 goals from outside the box this season. So you know what? If someone's sat in a low block, twat it in top bins, mate. That's what I say.
Yeah.
13 goals from outside the box is an astonishing stat, isn't it? Like,
It's
wow.
yeah, and I'm a lot of people have got it in for Villa. I don't really know why. I'm really rooting for them.
It's because they're not Man City and it's because they're
Yeah,
not bloody
I, I,
Liverpool.
I don't
I'd
get I
love
don't
Villa to
get it.
win the league. I'd
Yeah,
love Villa to win the
I
league.
love the way Unai Emery plays, and he's getting the best out of players. None of them are worldies, and it's just like long may it continue. This is what we want in football. You want to see other teams do well, and Aston Villa have been through the mire for the last 10, 15 years. Why would you not want to see them do well and root for them?
Yeah,
One of my final points, mate, is going back to Man City briefly, and I saw this in an article in the week, and I don't know if it's. I didn't get a chance to really verify who wrote it and look into it more in more depth. because I've been a bit busy this week. But I wanted to mention it because if it's true, it's another death knell in the coffin for football. So Man City's new stand that they've built, it's got like this really grotesque, hideous hotel behind it and everything. It's just the worst thing. It's the most ugliest thing on the planet. And I'm not. That's not having a good dig at Man City. It's awful. It's so
Hang
ugly.
on.
But
Is it uglier than Birmingham's proposed new stadium?
no, not quite. But it's this great big ugly horseshoe thing that has this great big thing where you can walk in. It's like a fan way where you walk in hotel.
Yeah.
It's just gross. And but they've got like a second tier on this stand now. And I read, Man City fans, if any are listening, please feel free to, pull me up on this if it's not correct. But I've heard that this brand new upper tier, so it's, I don't know how many, 8,000 new seats, I think.
Yeah.
None of them are going to be made available to season ticket holders. And if that is true, what does that mean? It
Wow.
means they're going to be sold as tourist packages every week. And if that's the case, that's another death knell for football for me.
Shocking.
Because
Shocking.
that if you've got fans on a waiting list who are from your area and they
Yeah.
are desperate to go to a game, they should be going to those fans. And if you're not making them available because you wanted to sell them to tourists, I mean, Man City have a problem in selling out anyway. And even all the Champions League games, there's lots of season ticket holders. In fairness, I'm probably going to contradict myself here because I think there's quite a few season ticket holders who sometimes don't go to the Champions League games. And
Yeah.
people's argument is, well, these so-called season ticket holders aren't going, so therefore, why would you give it to other people? Well, that's not the point, because you might have people on a waiting list who are desperate to go, who'll go every week, just
Yeah.
because there's a small minority that don't. And is that every game, or is it the odd game they can't get to? But in principle, if you're building an entire new second tier to a stand and you're creating all these seats and you're not going to make them available to season ticket or to people on a waiting list for season tickets, that's another death knell for me, because it
James.
basically means you're encouraging 6,000 randoms into your ground every week
Yeah.
just to make more of this
At the
when they
expense of
don't
proper
need it.
fans.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you're owned by a country. Do you need more money? No. No,
No.
you don't.
Last thing on this is only because it's relevant is we mentioned there about the low block and playing out from the back, and Pep's killed football by doing all that tippy tappy tick
Oh,
attack
he has.
stuff. Whatever,
Yeah.
he killed me, but he's also ruined football for teams who are not good enough to do that. And all I just want to finish with is teams who play out from the back all the time.
Yeah.
I just like to say thank you, Preston North End. You came to the Riverside last week.
Yeah.
Thank you, Preston
I was
North
there
End.
with you. Yeah.
You
It was the
were
gift that kept giving, wasn't
appalling.
it, mate? Yeah, it
You
was.
were appalling at playing out from the back.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? You're not Man City in their prime. You're not Barcelona 2010. And we took full advantage and beat you 4-1. And 4-0, sorry. And yesterday at the Riverside, Norwich played out from the back consistently. Norwich, by the way, hats off to them, were a real threat going forward.
Yeah,
But
they are a good team.
at the back, they look nervous as hell. They look nervous as hell because they've been told to pass it out from the back. And our goal for the 1-0 victory came directly as us pressing from them playing out from the back. So you know what? If you want to be compared to Man City, but like the one that you bought on Wish or Temu, keep doing it, and keep doing it against Middlesbrough, by the way, because we love pressing and we keep scoring goals against teams who press from the back,
Well,
play out from the back, and we'll press you to death.
I agree with you on that because Everton don't do it very well. They're one of the most cumbersome teams I've watched. We sit there every week going, why? Why are you doing this? So they'll always start with Pickford. He'll have Tahi on his right hand side, and the opposition know what you're going to do, and they always look really uncomfortable and uncertain in what they're doing. So the team,
Hang on. One of the players in that equation is James Tarkowski. That's all you've got to say. Why would you give it to him?
He's been wobbly all season, and players can sense it, and so the players start moving up. So instantly you feel like you're under pressure, and if it goes wrong, you're suddenly quickly knocking it around 3 or 4 times just to get it out from your 6 yard box. It's like,
Yeah,
why? Just I know why they do it, mate, because it's a big one of like, well, if you knock it long and you lose it straight away,
it
you
comes
just give
straight
up
back.
possession, and we're
Yeah,
not great in possession anyway. And equally, you could say, well, by doing that, that's worse. But what I'd say is, there's so many opportunities where you could just knock it to your right or left back and
yeah,
start the play off, a good comfortable 20 meters away from your goal.
yeah,
Good pass out and off you go. As soon as you start with this ridiculous, to and fro in your 6 yard area, the opposition just push up, and put
yeah.
pressure on you. And then you're then forced to kick it out long, and you're forced to kick it out quickly, which means you don't reach your man.
which you could have done 5 minutes
five
previously
minutes
without
earlier. I
pissing
don't
about.
get it. I'm not
No,
a fan of it, to be honest. I don't mind it
no.
in certain instances, but if you're going to do it, be quick and do it quickly and move the play quickly.
And give it to better players who've
Give
got
it to
technical
better
skills.
players who, yeah, and do it that way. But yeah, it's almost like we're wedded to it. It's like as long as we hold the ball and pass it endlessly, we'll be rewarded for being a really good passing quality team. No,
Yeah, yeah.
no,
Keep doing it against Middlesbrough. We love it because we'll press you to death and we'll score from it because
yeah,
we've got relentless energy at the moment and long may it continue. Right on that basis, I'm going to finish. I'd like to just share with the audience where we are in terms of what we're doing. So that's bear with me. This is I'm having a bit of a mare with this one. So there we go. That was episode 33. Observations on the season so far. We're going to continue this next week on episode 34 because a lot seems to be happening. And it seems to be, like I said earlier, the most popular kind of episodes that we do. Once we've done episode 34, we'll decide what we do. We might do a special on
got a few
35,
ideas. I've
few
got a few
ideas,
ideas which we need
etc.
to discuss off air, but we've got plenty of ideas
Plenty
for
of
future
content.
episodes. Yeah.
But I've got a list of mile long to go through next time, and so that'll be 3 in a row, which are observations so far. I think that's the DNA of the podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share on all your favourite platforms. As I said before, we're on YouTube, we're on iTunes and Spotify and Apple Play and Podbean, and if you just search the Half and Half Scarf Football Podcast with Nick and Dom, you'll find it. If you subscribe, you'll get your Monday mornings every Monday. And if you like, share and comment. And we'd love your observations on what we say. You know, we just observing stuff. You might think we're talking shit. You might think you agree with us. You might say, well, actually, here's my observation on what you've said. We'd love it. Please do.
Yeah,
Please comment.
and the big thing, as like you say, is just because we say something, it doesn't mean we're right, and we're quite happy to be pulled up on things. And like any kind of, I'd like to say, I think I'm quite balanced, and you are as well, mate. If someone comes up with a better idea or opinion on something, and it makes perfect sense, and you can back it up, it's like, yeah, do you know what? You're absolutely right. I've not seen it. I've not considered it from that viewpoint before. So
Mm,
yeah, I love it if people get involved because it's nice to just talk things through and sometimes realize that actually you might be looking at something wrong, or actually I'm prepared to have my mind changed by someone else out there. So yeah, please get involved. We
absolutely.
love it.
Absolutely. And I've never been called balanced before, but thank you for that. I appreciate it,
You're
Dom.
not as
Cheers.
balanced as me, mate, but yeah, yeah.
I think that's fair. On that note, I'll see you next time.
See you next time, mate. Really
Cheers,
enjoying
mate.
these ones. Yeah, see you soon. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye.